Hey everybody, it's Justin here with Building Scale with another episode of our Building Connection series. We've partnered with Keymakers, an organization out of Arizona here that is purposefully making executive connections, both owners and C-suite members that are looking to strategically find partners and grow their business. They had an event last week where I got to attend and talk to their fireside chat panel. That was amazing. And I got to just have a conversation about business, life, legacy, value creation, impact, purpose with these three gentlemen. And it was amazing. They are all unique in their own way, very successful in their own way. And it was just a really great conversation. So this will be a little bit different, a lot less of me, posing question after question, more just having a conversation between a bunch of awesome individuals. As well as about 10 minutes in, Gilles had to go fix the sauce, which you'll hear in there. And then we pick up the conversation back again with just Lee and Mark. So you know that. And it was kind of amazing. The food was outstanding. Gilles Épie is a Michelin star chef. He actually won his Michelin star, the youngest chef ever to do that at 22 years old. And just had won best burger in the world, so that's pretty good considering there's about 8 billion people on the planet. And the food was unbelievably outstanding. I can't emphasize that enough. And then Mark Candelaria, he runs Candelaria Design, which is a luxury residential design firm here in Arizona. They do work in other places as well, but is quite the staple and stranglehold of the Arizona market when it comes to high-end design. He's also a chef himself, which he helps Gilles, or he did help Gilles that day as his sous chef, which was just fun and amazing. And then Lee Benson is an author, best-selling author for both Your Most Important Number as well as Value Creation Kid. So this is really just the conversation that we all got together and had, and I just really hope you enjoy learning a little bit about them and hearing their thoughts on and what's made them successful in life, business, and with their ongoing legacy. Hey everybody, it's Justin. I am here with Mark Candelaria, Gilles Épie, and Lee Benson. Thank you guys for joining me today. Super excited to talk about life, business, legacy. You are all very successful in your own ways, which is magical in all kinds of different settings. And I'm excited to learn more about you. So to kick this off, I want to ask about, when do you think about impact and purpose? Like where are those places? Obviously, you've gone through a lot of career and a lot of life. Is that something you thought about earlier in your career and now are just executing that at a high level? Or is this something that is more recent, that you were initially kind of nose to the ground and now it's something that you're trying to really have more of an impact and a value creation? We'll start with you, Gilles.
Well, I started to cook when I was 14 years old, so I didn't go to school that much. And all of my life, I've been in the kitchen, working with the high-end chef in France. And then from day one, I was just loving cooking with my mom in the beginning, and then I decided to be a chef, and then I worked long hours. I've been trained since I was a kid to work hard and long hours, a lot of time without vacation, years without vacation, sometimes with no days off. But that's the only way you could become very good at what you're doing. And I'm passionate about, what I'm doing. And I think it came to me not right away. It took 6 years to be able to really feel like become a chef, and a real chef, because a lot of people can call themselves a chef, but being a chef is take more than few years. Takes years and years to learn, and cooking every day and learning from people takes at least 10 years then you can call yourself a chef or working in the real kitchen. And that's what I do, all of my life, and even of today, I'm learning every day. Since like today, I have to redo the sauce because, like I said, you think you're good, and sometimes, it's happened. You have to do it again, and it's part of learning. About what I do. I'm going to share with you.
Yeah, that's amazing dedication. 10 years to be really good at it, and you're still not where you could be. That's amazing.
Takes 10 years. So you can, takes, yeah, you can call yourself after 10 years a chef, maybe a chef. But a real chef takes years and years. I'm still an apprentice as of today. I'm learning every day.
Yep.
I'm learning from everyone every day.
That's incredible.
So
just incredible.
That's why give me in my
drive
me every day.
Yeah.
That's not easy, but that's what I do.
I love that. Justin, for me, to answer the question, every single day is about like creating value in the world, material value, emotional energy value, spiritual value, and it's the lens through which I make every decision. So when I look at my 40-year overnight success story in business, which happens really fast, right?
Yeah.
Going through, this developed, and it's super solid right now in how I think about and act. Yeah. How about for you, Mark?
It's what I've learned, and I say it more and more now that I've run the marathon. It's a marathon.
It is.
When you first start, you're just trying to win every little race, and you don't win them all, obviously.
That's right.
But now that you look back, you go, well, even though I didn't win all those sprints, I've won the marathon. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've learned even that now that I'm gotten to this point in life, when you do have a little misstep or a failure, I don't worry about it as much as I did when I first started. Because when you first start, you think this is the end, And as you get older, you realize, no, this is just another opportunity to learn, as you guys have been saying. And so I don't let it get to me. I just say, okay, what can I learn from this that will make me even better the next time?
Yeah.
And you just keep winning the marathon,
So I wonder why so many people don't learn that to trust the struggle as they go through it, and because you'll come out the other side. Most
well, it's hard. It's hard when you're young because you think it is the end. Everything. There's so much pressure when you're young.
Right.
You're still trying to prove yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's just as I look back, I go, wow, those are things I thought were so horrible and so life ending. They were actually quite small.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how your perspective changes after doing this now for me for 42 years. Yeah. So, but it's good.
I wouldn't trade any of the struggles. Because it made me.
Now that you're on this side.
Well, and some of the best people I've ever met went through a lot of struggle, and they say they wish they could do it differently. And I tell them, I'm glad you did it the way you did because of who you became.
Right.
That's why, same thing in the kitchen. That's something what I do.
The sauce doesn't always turn out.
Yeah.
Right?
So I'm going to fix it, but sometimes you surprise. One thing about me, and I'm always like, when I do a dish, for example, I always do it and do it again exactly the first, if I was doing the first time, with the same respect and passion and for the ingredients and for the people I'm cooking for,
How much is exact measurements or just by feel as you're doing it with the ingredients and what it tastes like? I've always wondered about that. Some people have to.
The creation. You cannot say, okay, I'm going to create a recipe today. It's not going to happen. It doesn't work this way.
Okay.
When I did to do the menu, first of all, I figured out where I'm at, I go to the market and then I create something in my mind. I know the combination, the flavors in my mind before I test it. Usually I'm right. Sometimes I'm wrong, but usually 90% of the time I'm right. So I should create the recipe in my mind.
Yep.
I don't have cookbooks. So many chefs that cookbooks. They don't even open the books just to look at pictures. But I don't do that. I have 3 cookbooks. The Escoffier, which is the classic French Bible from the French cuisine.
Yeah.
I have 2 other books, and I can read sometimes to remind me some ingredients and some amount of the béarnaise, for example. I don't remember how much vinegar you have to put on it, so I have to read it. Otherwise, I don't read books. It's in my mind, which is pretty scary because sometimes I wake up, the night, I say, the night, I say, I have to write something because
You don't forget it.
otherwise I'm going to forget the next day.
Yeah.
That's the way I've.
Well, it's so interesting.
Maybe I'm crazy, but
No, you're exactly spot on. I mean, what I've learned, because my profession is an architect, but I love to cook as a hobby.
uh-huh.
And what you just said about ingredients and formulating it in your mind, it's the exact same thing in architecture. And when I'm cooking, I notice the similarities. It's like I think of my ingredients. Am I doing arches? Am I doing straight? Are my windows divided? It's the same exact process. Exactly. What I find, what the difference is, cooking is a lot faster. Architecture takes years and years. I mean, imagine making a dinner that took you 3 years to make.
Well, think about our employees in business.
Yeah.
So I've had 7 different companies so far that I started. The biggest one over 500 team members, and the employees are the ingredients.
Yeah.
And every day their flavors change, and you're moving things around. It's not like this spreadsheet. You go apply step 1 through 5, and you'll be successful. You have to constantly be working with the ingredients. So, as a metaphor, I think it's perfect.
It is
what
perfect.
it's like to have a business.
Yep.
Well, that's why I suffered a bit when I came to America the first time because ingredients as the main key for the chef, and
Yeah.
that's
Hard to find here.
To find. So when I went to Washington like 2 years ago, I had to create something. I never been in Washington before. I had to create the whole menu. I had to find the right vendors,
Yeah.
the right producer and everything. So I work a lot with the Amish people because first of all,
Farming.
they're
Fresh.
farmers, they're fresh, they know what they're doing. They're only but the bad situation with that. You can't even talk to the guy. You can't even call him. He's at the phone.
Right.
So I need to deal with someone who deal with them and he knows them for many years. Otherwise, but they came out with the most beautiful chicken, for example, and they thanks me for helping them to raise the most beautiful chicken they ever made before.
Well, they're good carpenters too.
They're good carpenters.
Jeff, I think you're being actually called to the kitchen right now. I think Justin is
Okay.
giving me the sign to make the sauce.
I have to do my sauce. Okay.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
Awesome. We were just off air talking about connections and good energy people. What have you found about that in life? How has that helped success when you're growing your design firm, Mark, or you're growing the aviation company, Lee? Where have you found that bringing people together really is this leverage? This lever that you get to pull on.
You want me to start with
You
this?
go ahead and start. Yeah.
Yeah, you hear about a lot of business folks that say it's lonely at the top and they're looking for groups, and then I notice when it gets really tough, they hunker down and they don't reach out. And I believe if you're lonely, it's 100% by choice, because there is a community out there, like you were saying, Mark, that they're on the same vibration with you, the same energy, coming in. And so cultivating that is so important. And I put it in the bucket of spiritual value creation, because it's connected to something bigger, which is different for everybody. Deeper, more connected. So building community, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've learned to really pay attention to that, to really tune into that when I'm with people. Am I feeling that energy? Am I feeling that deeper connection or the potential for the deeper connection?
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things too that I found in life. Again, the marathon analogy is the more I do it, it's like exercise, I guess, which I probably need to do more of. But the more you do it, you just get better and better at finding that energy that really resonates with you, that is going to lead to some great things, not only for you, but for the other person. I mean, I think a lot of people get caught up in what's in it for me. And I'm always trying to look at it from the perspective, what can I do for this person? Mm-hmm. And by flipping that around for me has really changed my life. Now, and things come back to you tenfold from what you ever could have wished for yourself by just putting it towards, building that energy and building that connection with somebody else.
Yeah, I love that.
Did you find that happened at a certain point where you had this mindset shift of how can I give value to them? Like, how can I help them and not necessarily think I'm not saying selfishly,
Yeah.
but not think like, how is this going to help me? How's this going to help the firm? How's this going to help the people that I'm closest to?
Right. For me, it was an evolutionary thing. It just evolved over time, and again, I think it's just maturity and doing things different ways and seeing what the results are. And I just learned over time. We're so involved in the community with different charities, and I love it because I meet great people that are people that are giving in charities that are volunteering their time. Right away, they're great people. And so the more I do it, the more I get involved with things like that, I just meet the most amazing people that really inspire me. And it took time to do that, but I love it. It's a really fulfilling thing for me.
What about you, Lee?
Sure.
Your value creation extraordinaire.
So Mark, selfishly, you want to feel good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Of course, right? We all do. We all want to
Yeah.
feel good. And what's going to do it there that's going to be beneficial to not only you, but everybody.
Right.
You know?
And that's how I think about it. So for me, it's not so much what can I do for somebody else, it's what can I do for everybody else.
Right.
And probably 20, 30 years ago, I figured out that when I do that, it'll expose me to opportunities that I can choose to be part of, yes or no, but way more opportunities than
Right.
if it's all about what can I get out of
Right.
something.
Totally.
And it's worked so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, it's that marathon perception. It's like, I'm not going to get something out of this right away. I might never get anything out of this, but you don't worry about that. You worried about, what's this? How am I going to win this long-term race and do good things? And again, every time I've kind of gone back to that perspective of the marathon, it's always proven to be the right choice. Sometimes there's hard choices to make, and you're not, you have to make a mistake, and you might have to cough up some money to fix it. But it's the right thing to do, So
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's totally how I think about it. And we can sustain this and scale it, grow it forever.
Yep.
But if it's win-lose selfishness instead of win-win selfishness, losers won't hang out very long. So you can't really scale that. And I love how it grows the community that we were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing, is just raise all the ships. They're just always trying to push everyone to a higher level. Yeah. And I love that when I'm around people that think that way, because that's what's going to happen. And what's going to happen, And so you just get out there and start paddling, and boom, it's amazing what happens.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really that give to give mentality.
Yeah.
Well, create value for everybody all the time, and then you get to choose which opportunities that expose themselves that you want to be part of.
Yeah.
It's that simple. What frustrates me in the world today is most people, unfortunately, at least from my experience, are practicing virtue signaling, not practicing real virtue. So for me, practicing real virtue is you're creating objectively measurable value in the world. And at the same time, you're pushing back on things that take value out of the world. So you're either a value creator or you're taking value out of the world by somehow rigging the game. and there's certain environments, like politics, for example, that culturally is mostly a game rigging culture. And that's why it feels so strange to me and probably to a lot of folks. So my mission and my goal is, how do we change the world and connect culture to value creation and make those people as a group much, much bigger,
right?
And the folks rigging the game, shrink them down a little bit. This has been going on for thousands of years, never going away. It's human nature, so we just need to puff up the value creation side a little bit more. How does that land?
No, I think that's spot on, exactly correct. I think the people that are trying to add value to the world, we just have to do more. We have to outlast and outwin the ones that are trying to suck, the energy out of everybody else.
Yeah, and I think intentionally and proportionally push back on things that are taking value out.
Right.
Like silence doesn't help me in my efforts. I have to say, no, that's not adding value, that's taking it out of the world in some way. And that's why I think about it holistically. Material value creation is important to cultivate, money, stuff, all of that. But the emotional energy and the spiritual value creation macro buckets, do it in balance, and it's crazy how much better you feel. Yeah, and it's just better. And again, it's not altruism, it's not virtue signaling, it's just how we elevate internal fulfillment, in my view.
Sure, exactly. Especially, it's wonderful when you can get around a group of people that all believe in that, how that energy it's infectious, and it's just, I love when I'm around positive people that are trying to do exactly what you just said. the energy's limitless. It's really limitless. It becomes infinite.
100%.
I think I've heard you say, Lee, before that it's the ultimate. Now, it's not time. It's not the. That's not it. That's not the elusive piece of the equation. It's the energy. Because if you're at a 9 or a 10, you can achieve anything.
I actually think, because most people, when they're asked the question, what's the scarcest commodity? Well, it's time or it's your health or something along those lines. And for me, it's positive emotional energy. Because on a scale from 1 to 10, if I'm running a 9 or 10, my arm could fall off and I go, whatever, I've got another one. Let's go.
That's why you get
your
2.
Perspective.
Right. And if I'm 1 or 2, I get a flat tire and it ruins my week, or, and I'm done. So, again, I'd rather live only half as long on 9 or 10 than twice as long on 1 or 2, if that makes sense. And positive emotional energy supercharges
Everything.
Material value creation, spiritual value creation in the context of a business.
Yeah.
It's the connectedness with our team members, right? Going through. So that's why I think a positive emotional energy is the scarcest commodity on the planet.
Yep. And that's something we teach a lot, or we really try to expose our staff to is positiveness. So when we take times off, during each quarter, and we talk just about this stuff. And they look at me kind of like I'm crazy, and then they try a few things, and they're like, "Wow, it's kind of this stuff kind of works," But you got to take the time to do it, because most people never even know about this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think as an employer, as a leader, as a mentor, you want to teach, especially a lot of the younger people. It's great because they're all in the sprint mode still, instant gratification and stuff, and teach them, hey, you're just starting this race. It's going to be a long race. So I think it's important to take time to just share what we've learned over the years. And fortunately, we're still learning. That's the best part.
Well, it's great that you're intentionally doing it, because again, back to virtue signaling, culture is important and we care about this and that. But when you look under the covers, it's all about only the money. But they say the other stuff so they can look good, so people will do business with them. But you're intentionally doing it, and I congratulate you for that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and we actually talk about this specifically. So we go, if we just focus on the money side of what we're doing, we're missing out on so many opportunities to build relationships with our builders, with our clients. And so let's focus on our values, our mission, what we're about. If we do all those things correctly, the money will take care of itself. And it does. It's amazing, So it's like, let's focus on those inner spiritual things that make us a different company, different group of people.
100%. Yeah. Totally agree.
How does a leader start actually implementing real culture? Not we have a great culture, we do these things, all the we go on trips, or we have a pinball machine, or hey, we give you lunch, whatever it is. How do you create real culture that does take positivity, or does take value creation as a real anchor on this is how we want to achieve greatness, like this is the path how we get there?
Yeah. Well, I think foundationally, at least for me, we should be connecting culture to value creation, and we should be super intentional about it. So if we have a mission statement or a set of behaviors or leadership traits, before we even draft them, we should have a statement that says, this is how having this will make us more successful as a company, i.e. create more value. And now we're drafting the right alignment tools. And then how do we operationalize that? So at the critical touch points, like you talked about quarterly going through this stuff.
Yep.
And I think it should be in onboarding and performance reviews and every part of it, that this is our intentional culture where we're using it to connect culture to value creation, and it becomes infused. And so now it's intentional. You can grow to 100,000, 1 million employees. And if you do this right operationally, you'll get the same culture everywhere. And a lot of companies, it feels really good. Hey, it's great to work here. We have an amazing culture, but they can't describe it. It just happened.
Right.
Which means it can blow up pretty darn fast. So I think the key is designing it correctly, putting the right thought into it. What are you really trying to accomplish? And then operationalize it going forward.
And like somebody said earlier too, it's not, the what, it's the who, and it's about getting the right people, because some people won't ever get it. And as much as you preach it and try to, and you need to keep a watchful eye on those people that you see that just they're not into it. Then they probably need to be off your bus, And then there's going to be those that do get it, and you want to just put your energy and time into those people because they're the ones that are going to keep lifting everyone else up. So I'm always watching who are my people that I want to keep on the bus and let the bus go and go down this journey, and who are the ones that need to come off, because some people just don't get it, period. As much as you can preach it and do it, they're energy suckers or whatever you want to call it,
vampires or whatever. Yeah.
And they're all out there, but when you get a group that are really into it, and I always use football, football team as an example. When you get a team that they either have that inherent spirit in their soul, and you can teach them how to block and do all those things. But you have someone that doesn't have that inner soul, you can teach them how to block, and they're still never going to learn. They're not going to learn that one part of the equation that makes them great.
Yeah. Well, and not everybody's right for your culture.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yep,
that's why it's so important to hire for that. And can I help you find another job in a culture that fits
you better?
Because everybody's got some sort of value creation superpower that they can cultivate. Yeah.
Yeah. But when you get that team together that is gelling and all of it, it's amazing. It's the funnest thing to be a part of.
Magic.
Right? It's magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Love that.
When you find the right people that are culturally fit, they have the same energy, they are going that way, does that change over time? Do you find that you had this person that was so devoted to the idea or vision that you had, and then at some point they change and they go a different way? Or do you find that when you know the core of somebody, that's the core of them, and that's always going to be the case?
For me, it's a person by person situation. I've had people that have left, and I guess however you want to look at this, fortunately, they've started their own firm and have done great. Mm-hmm. And, that's how I started my business. I left the firm that I was at for 18 years and started my firm. And I would think, from what I remember, about 30 firms have spawned from that firm. And now I probably have about 8 or 10 firms that have spawned from my firm. Mm-hmm. So that happens, and not everyone that has left obviously got on to start their own business. But
that's an incredible legacy.
Yeah. So that's part of building that legacy.
Took the words out of my mouth, please.
That's incredible.
It is. To see others go on and have impact in their own way.
Right.
Like that's got to be it. That feeling has to be amazing.
What's been fun is, I have other builders then that have worked with some of the people that have left, and they go, yeah, they do it. They're doing it exactly the same way you do. And you're the only one that does it that way, but now they do it that way. And so it's like, okay, well, obviously the way we were doing it wasn't too bad because they're copying it,
Yeah.
But we always add the things like cooking, our trips, our tours. We just add a lot more to what we do to make us different from our competition.
Yeah, and from my aerospace days, all the leaders that were there that went off to be senior leaders or actually run other businesses.
Yep.
It's like, yes, I won, and that I couldn't ask for anything more than that, and that's kind of part of the legacy.
That's part of that's how it works, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Legacy is interesting because we're generally not here for it. We're building a thing that we won't be here for, theoretically. Mm-hmm. What when you think of these leaders going off and doing these things, or maybe your family, or where you see that I will be remembered or I've created a difference while I was here, what does that spawn? What emotions and thoughts does that kind of give you today? Because obviously then you won't necessarily have it.
I think about that, especially the older I get, and again, having had the experience of working with a great mentor for 18 years, and he's passed on, and I look now at how people remember him and what he did and what we learned from him, and I'm like, okay, these are some of the things I want to have happen when I'm gone. Whether it's my employees, my wife, my kids, those are things that I want them to be proud of and have fond memories of me. So I use a lot of that thinking to drive how I do a lot of things today. Now that I'm older, I just like, okay, how would I want someone to remember me in this situation? And I go, okay, that's how I'm going to do this. And it might be painful, but that's how I'm going to do it. Mm. So your perspective, I just found my perspective has changed tremendously, especially the last 10 years. As now I'm in my 60s, it's like night and day difference of how I think, even from my 40s and 50s.
You're only in your 60s. You got a long ways to go.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. But
there's a lot of life left.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
What about you, Lee?
Well, for me, my mission is driving this concept of objectively measurable holistic value in the world. And so I've got my operating methodology that hundreds of companies are using, and that's how they intentionally create more value.
Yeah.
How would I get it into thousands and thousands of companies? So I'm on a mission to do that. I've got a path. I'm going that direction.
That's amazing.
That'll make a dent in the world.
Yeah.
In a really positive way. So I've had, and I'm sure you've had conversations like this too, where spouses of team members that I would work with would tell me, in less than a year of working at your company, my husband or wife's a better person to live
Yeah. I was just thinking that.
like what are you guys smoking down there? And I said, well, we have this special drink, that no,
Right.
but it's that intentional culture, thinking about value creation, and it's infectious,
Right. Well, and the way I look at it too, a lot of these people don't get exposed to this type of thinking anywhere else. I mean, maybe they're lucky and go to church and get some, but where else are they going to get it? Maybe a podcast, maybe they watch a show, but I think living that type of thinking every day at work, which is a big chunk of your life, then it does get brought back to home. It gets brought back to your kids. It gets brought back to a lot of people. So I think as owners of companies, there's a lot of responsibility we have to not only make our companies work, but we're having impact on those families.
Yeah. Well, Mark, I think the big difference is most people talk about these concepts.
Yeah.
The way you and I are applying it, we're applying the concepts in the real world to create value. We're not talking about it. And I think that's where it makes the biggest difference, to have it permeate out into the communities, especially the families, right?
Yeah, you got to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. Yeah. So
apply it, don't just talk
it. Yep. And I like to kind of inspire my people to, I said, what are you going to do here? How do you do? I coach them, Okay, I want to see what you guys are going to do with this situation. Come back. What do you think? Well, I'm going to do perfect. Yeah. Let's let it rip. Let's see what happens, So I always try to keep them positive and keep them on a positive path in all the different situations that come, across our table every day in the week of doing houses and buildings. So.
Yeah, and so I stay current. I'm on the front lines every single day with our clients, working with senior teams, middle management teams, frontline teams, sort of an equal brain in the room with them to create value faster.
Right.
Because what I've experienced is a lot of the gurus on the stages talking about a thing. They haven't done it in so long they couldn't do the thing to save themselves, or worse, they've never done the thing, but they're really good at talking about it.
Right.
So I think it's important that we have to stay in the game, at least as much, if not more, than we talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can only do so much film study in the back room. It's when you're on the field that the score's counted,
Yeah.
And so I love that, And then you can always go back and look at the film of how you played, but you got to get on the field. That's why, don't get me started on working from home, okay?
Yeah. Interesting. You mentioned working in a place that changes an individual. I've thought about this myself, where I think about my purpose in life and these components. And when you start taking time that you have in a week, when you remove the sleeping, I have to survive as a human being time, it's about 24% of your week if you just work 40 hours.
Right.
A lot of people work more than that. So somewhere between a quarter plus of your time, that impacts you so much through all the other parts of your life.
Right.
So it makes sense that you would have people come and say, what are you smoking over here? Because it's so, a human being becomes so different because it's a quarter of their week every week.
It's a big part of their life.
That's huge.
Yep, absolutely.
How have you found mentorship being, obviously you mentioned that's a big piece for a lot of people. Have you found that you now are mentors for others, and the fulfillment that brings, and maybe younger leaders should always find a mentor? It's and maybe never ending to find a mentor. Always have somebody that you can have ideas that bounce off of and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's that. I mean, I still have mentors that I have great clients that run huge companies, and they're older than me, and I now that I've gotten older, I really, I like to learn from them because of their perspective, where they are now. What are they seeing at 70 and 80 that I'm not still seeing at 60? So it's endless. It's an endless process, and then some of that can filter down to my employees that are in their 40s and 50s or 30s or 20s, And I think what's interesting is the employees that I have in their 20s, I think they know about mentorship, but they don't seem to still get it. And I remember being 20, and I didn't get it till I was probably in my 30s or 40s. I go, man, I'm learning a lot from this guy. I got to stick around this guy a lot more. So get back to working from home. You don't get that working from home.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You need to be on the field, So
Yeah.
mentorship to me is very, very important.
Yeah. I think it's incredibly important. The challenge when I was 20, I could think of all kinds of amazing things to tell myself, but then I have to back up and go, what could I actually hear?
Right.
At that age, right?
Yeah.
And so when I'm doing, I think of it as intentional value creation cultivation, like with every leader, every individual I come in contact with appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the surgical approach to get them to cultivate their capabilities to create more value going forward? And every leader is going to be different. Like,
Yeah.
Why was their position created in the organization with their team to create value? How do we know that they're creating value? And are they on track, at risk, or behind? And what would be the thing right now today surgically that they need to take a bigger step going forward next? And that moves all over the place.
Yeah.
So leadership development isn't a one size fits all. It's individual, as you said earlier.
It's individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a football team. You have the center, you have the wide receiver, and they're both valuable. If you let one down, and you got to focus on all of them equally to make a great team.
100%.
So,
and they build a culture so they're creating value together.
Yep.
1 and 1 is 5 in that case,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. And part of that too is, not only do I need to value each of them for their ability, but they need to value each other.
Mm-hmm.
The receiver, again, can't catch the ball if the tackle isn't making the block to have the quarterback throw the ball. Everyone's important on your team.
Yeah.
And they all have to have that respect for each other to, make the product that we're trying to deliver happen. So
it actually reminds me of the Phil Jackson quote where it's the strength of the team is the individual efforts, but the strength of the individuals is the team.
Right.
Where you
It's both.
you can't have one without the other.
Totally believe that. Yep.
I also think about clarity moments. A lot of people will hit a ceiling. It's just natural in business. You hit ceilings where you have to break through. You have to change. You have to evolve into something else.
Yep.
Leaders see this all the time. I feel like this happened to me a few months ago where it was just like an aha. And you're like, oh, why didn't I think like this a month ago? And it just snaps. And then you just start consuming more and more of that knowledge that you was always available to you, but was not. It was like in a foreign language almost.
Yeah.
It just didn't. It didn't resonate with you the same way it does now.
Yeah.
Do you still experience these level ups, these power ups, if you will, at this point?
Well, when we were talking about football a minute ago, I use this analogy a lot with my people. Is like when they first come in the door, they see this much of the football field. It's like a quarterback. After 3 or 4 years, it takes about 5 years, so they see basically the field.
Yeah.
It takes that long to get them where they're seeing the whole field. Mm-hmm. And then beyond that, it keeps growing. Your cone of vision just gets wider and wider. And I still notice it even after 40 years. I see a wider vision of the field. Mm-hmm. And I love that. It's like the wisdom that you gain just doing this job every year and, dealing with people and dealing with situations. You just realize there's a higher level to all of it if you're observant, and again, see a wider vision of the field.
Yeah, I still feel like every year that goes by, I grew more than the previous 3 years, and then the next year goes by, so it's becoming exponential.
It's exponential.
And cultivating these abilities to create value.
Yep.
And being able to think more deeply about it, be more effective about it. I run CEO peer advisor groups. I call it Execute.
Mm-hmm.
They're Execute masterminds.
Mm-hmm.
And the members are accelerating the value of their businesses so much faster applying this methodology and all the stuff that again, 40, 50-year overnight success story to get here, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a marathon, baby.
Yeah.
Now, I've been reading, I just finished a good book, 10 times is easier than 2 times by Benjamin Hardy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great book. And it's true. Why push yourself to just 2 times of what you can do when you can push yourself to 10 times? It takes virtually the same effort, but you're just thinking much bigger. You're thinking of a much wider field and pushing yourself to greater accomplishment, So a book is really inspiring.
Yeah. I read the book. 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah.
But it's mindset.
It's
talking
mindset
here, right?
So much of what we do is mindset. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this concept that you just have to keep moving when it gets tough.
Yep.
It's not the end of the world.
Don't become the victim.
Right? Don't be a victim. It's a healthy struggle for you to cultivate, not having to deal with that struggle that way in the future,
Yep.
and get better.
Yep.
So trust the struggle, keep moving forward,
Learn from the struggle.
physically, mentally, emotionally, never stop moving, and it'll work. But
Yep.
if you are a victim, you kind of swirl into a little pocket and
then you stay there forever.
Some can, which is terrible. Yeah.
And I think most people, sadly, choose to be the victim,
Mm-hmm.
Because it's easier. You don't have to do anything. You can just sit there and woe's me, versus the people that, push through it and learn. It's amazing how fast you can de-victimize yourself and get out of the pothole if you just put a little bit of effort. It does not take that much sometimes. And, I've learned that, just push yourself.
And find the right mentors to help you
Yeah.
through that, to help change perspective and go on. But right now, culturally in the United States, there's a lot of sort of social capital around being a victim. Oh, look, I'm a victim. And then that gets leveraged somehow. Now that's a thought pathogen, in my view, that's taking value out of the world at scale.
Totally.
So let's get back to creating value.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could not agree with that more. And I think the media loves to play upon the victim mentality because it's I don't know why, but it's great when you see a story of someone that's fought through something, how inspiring that is. So
I completely agree. I have a 4-year-old, and one of the, I'm becoming this dad where I have all these sayings that I want to make sure that are, it's so embedded in the brain that it's impossible to be different. And one of them is, when things get hard, we try harder. Like,
Yep.
this is a thing, and or ask for help. Like, this is,
let me tell you one of mine.
Can't push through everything, but
Yeah.
you have to try to push through things.
Right.
Yeah.
So I tell my company and I tell my kids, we're Candelaria Design, not Candelaria Design.
I love that. Yeah.
So that goes right in that mindset, right?
That's perfect.
Don't tell me can't. That word doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's
tell
perfect.
me how we can do this. And it might, it's gonna take a little effort, but
Absolutely.
do it.
Yeah, my favorite maxim this year is do less better.
Yeah, well, that goes right down that chapter. I mean, I love that.
And I made T-shirts.
There you go.
Yeah.
Pareto principle.
80-20.
80-20.
You both are amazing. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours, but you have other things to do today at this event for Keymakers. So we're gonna sign off. We're gonna say our adios.
This is awesome.
Yeah, if a listener wanted to get a hold of you or wanted to know more about your company, what's the best way for them to do that?
For us, it's CandelariaDesign.com, or you can go on my Instagram, CandelariaDesign.com, or mCandelariaArc. Whatever it is on Instagram. You'll find me. I'm out there.
I'll make sure in the show notes I have all the social
Perfect.
for you.
Yeah, and for me, just go to etw.com or connect with me on LinkedIn.
There you go.
Awesome. You were both wonderful. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, great job.
Good meeting you.
You too.
Yeah.
Let's do some more